So for a little bit, let's talk about stories. We were talking about life stories and such, I suppose, before. And, well, art imitates life, approaches life, takes on an interesting version of it itself. And especially with us still in the middle of National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, I wanted to go over some of the basics of composing a tale, composing a narrative, of finding various plot points, or getting your story out there. If you are given an outline or a basic structure, then you can dress it up how you want. You can decorate it, you can pad it, you can bend it around, but you still have something solid from which to work. And so, I have a couple resources that I want to review with you before I get to the very, very colorful drawings that we can delve into in order to get an idea for at least what's the first draft going to look like. And the answer is really going to be messy. Your first draft is going to have plot holes. Your first draft is going to have different mistakes, or at least things that you could have written better or plotted out better. More better. Kind of like more DACA. Your stories always need more DACA. Your stories always need to be more better. There will always be faults and things that you miss, and contrivances, something called purple prose, which is where you can often get too wordy in your descriptions. There will always be something. We can act against it, but it's also nothing that should paralyze you in your pursuit of writing down something, of getting an idea out and developing it. You know, you plant the seed of your story, and over time and effort, it'll grow. You cultivate it. What I hope to present are some... Oh, I wonder if there are other colors of prose. Sadly, I'm only familiar with the purple variety. And welcome to you, Fluffy Sheep. Especially with going back through the campaign. In fact, Fluffy Sheep here tolerated me for about 4 years with the story that I, with their help, was trying to tell. Going back through the videos and everything. Yep, hey, that's fine, Fluffy. Do what you got to do. I can go back and absolutely polish it. I can refine it. There's a lot that I can address it. Now, in the moment, I think we all had fun for the most part. From 5149, it was tolerable and enjoyable. And that's the first draft. Even though there's some things I planned out and they didn't plan out. They didn't pan out. But I hope that by following certain structures, I could at least get a rhythm of ideas, a rhythm to arcs. In fact, Fluffy Sheep even caught on. There was a bit of a meta conversation after one of the streams. I forget which one. But Fluffy was talking about how what we had just experienced that night was in the pattern and the buildup of a story. This was like a smaller something to discover that would lead to a larger something or another. It was a bit of a meta conversation for what I presented, And I don't know if I outright confirmed it, but Fluffy, you were absolutely on to me with how I was going through and presenting the things that I was, where this was going, this, I don't have the big cam anymore, this was going to lead into something else, and that there was an overarching something that this was a part of. And so, yes, in that regard, Fluffy was onto the rhythm, was onto the purpose of why we just did what we did in this part of the story arc. But going through, let's at least try and speak with terms that we are agreeable to, with definitions or understandings. Yeah, that's fine. Just accept the head pats, Fluffy. You caught on effectively. And I don't know, Derek, if you're out there, then you get head pats too. Because Derek caught on to way more than maybe he ever knew. Like, Derek was an overt threat to me as the DM, as the narrator, because this guy was... he was on to all of my shenanigans. And so he had to die. But narrative is a literary term for the path a story follows. It provides a backbone by providing a clear beginning, middle, and end of the story. The concept of narrative arc as we know it today was created by Gustav Freytag, a German novelist and playwright who closely analyzed ancient Greek writing along with William Shakespeare's 5-act plays. As the term suggests, when plotted on paper, a typical narrative arc forms the shape of a hill or a pyramid. There are 5 classic elements. Now, I'm not going to just sit here and read to you a website that I posted for your, for your own access. You can read this as well. I mean, I want you to have the link to follow along. By the way, I think that should be pronounced Freitag. So shame on me, but... is that why he had to switch? Kitty Bird. You're digging. You're digging too far, Kitty. There's a heat starting to come up from where you're digging. So a traditional narrative arc has 5 elements in the following order: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. What is the difference between narrative arc and plot? Plot refers to the individual elements that make up your story, the plot points. Narrative arc, on the other hand, refers to the path or sequence of your plot and how that series of events creates a flow and progression that keeps the reader engaged at each stage in the story. Seven archetypal narrative arcs and literary examples. Overcoming the monster. The main character must stop the person or force threatening them. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Rags to riches. The main character begins poor, comes into money and or fame, power, and love, loses it, and becomes a better person because of it. The quest. A main character takes an epic journey to find something, someone, or someplace, running into obstacles on the way. Voyage and return. The main character visits a new world and returns home with new perspective. Comedy. The main character experiences an escalating sequence of confusing but comedic events, which are ultimately resolved into a happy ending. A tragedy. The main character has a flaw or makes a mistake that results in their downfall. Or rebirth. The main character experiences an event that makes them a better person. These examples are going to be the foundation for most, if not all, of the stories that we have heard in comic book form, in movie form, novels, whatever. And it's okay to have, well, all right, so over here, this isn't home base, right? To use these. Because you've seen different comedies that have made you laugh in different ways and have been presented differently. And yet they're all comedies. How many of these other examples have we seen? But their stories are their own. While it may hearken to a familiar pattern, it is still that story. And in your case, it is your story. Please don't get aggravated with, oh, there's nothing new under the sun. It's difficult to find new stuff under the sun. Broadly. But the sun hasn't seen what you are going to create. Especially if you don't even know what you're going to create. But the sun has seen the elements that will go into whatever your unique creation is. The paths that you take, the decision in word or verbiage, tone, the themes you explore. But the way that you make it is new, is you. And then you can, praise the sun. You can offer it to everyone under the sun and have it be a part of everything under the sun. A narrative arc literary case study, A Christmas Carol. Rather seasonal. Now, I don't have the fall decorations here at the store that you do see in my at home base on that part of the channel. But we're getting close. Hi, everyone in the future. Exposition. We meet Ebenezer Scrooge in Victorian England. We see his cold character traits in action as he shuts out poor men seeking money for food and turns down an invitation to have dinner with his nephew. In the inciting incident, Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley, his late business partner, who warns him he'll be visited by 3 spirits and that he should take their advice. Now, if you're wondering about the inciting incident, that was a part of the definition, which was up on screen and or at the link that you could have followed. Rising action. The ghost of Christmas past takes Scrooge back to his unhappy childhood and shows him that his former fiancée, Belle, ended their relationship because he was too obsessed with money. Then, the ghost of Christmas present takes him to his employee, Bob Cratchit's bleak Christmas dinner, where Scrooge learns his son, Tiny Tim, is gravely ill and in danger of dying unless his family's circumstances change. Climax. The ghost of Christmas yet to come shows Scrooge a future where he dies, and nobody mourns his loss. Scrooge breaks down and promises to become a better person if given the chance to go back to the present. Falling action. Scrooge wakes up on Christmas morning a changed man. To make amends for his previous bad behavior, he donates money to charity, provides Christmas dinner for the Cratchit family, and gives Bob a generous raise. And the resolution? In the end, Scrooge vows to embody the Christmas spirit year-round in all things he does. Bread and butter, tried and true. And we can see this same pattern take place over, again, so many different other stories in various media, including whatever it is you want to write. I'm sorry, Rip Artist. I should have said there's going to be spoilers for A Christmas Carol. The movie? Well, there's definitely a lot of movies. And if you're going to watch a movie of it, you can go with the Muppet one. Muppet one's kind of fun. And there's some methodology here, advice for you to create a narrative arc in 4 easy steps. Choose an archetypal narrative arc, identify your beginning, middle, and end, plug your events into a narrative arc, and adjust as needed. Simple. Yeah, there's a lot of little steps, and it's things that you can finagle, and there's different ways that you can do it. I don't know how your brain works, so ultimately, you need to figure out how your brain works in order to adjust the details. Some people want it all electronic and words, and they move the words around. Some people need the little pieces of paper as plot points, and you actually need to play with your story like Legos, okay? And you go, all right, so what if the action goes in this order? And then we have, so these characters are here. Okay. Now, you know what? What if we don't introduce the character until here, and this person comes in? Oh, I forgot to, I am a professional, everyone. Hold on. Let me redo this again. So I'm using old tags from the piece of paper from the capsules. So some of you might be visual, right? So you have to lay out. It's like I've practiced one thing, but maybe not the other. And so you say, all right, so here's this series of events that I think makes sense. This is how the events should play out right now. And these are the characters. So this character is going to be introduced at this point. And this other character, so they're going to overlap, but this character is going to end here. No, you know what? It's actually better. Let's take this character out. Have everything focus, but start here, and then we're going to add this character here after a break, because that's going to, oh, you know what? Maybe this point, you know what? Let's modify this point. There we go. This could be how your brain works. If you're watching this and this is how it works, awesome. I hope you use a technique like this. If you're going cross-eyed and go, no, not for me, what works for you? Could be just a word processor. I'm definitely not sponsored by anyone, but I know there's a lot of other more fancy world-building software packages and whatnot. I think there's World Anvil. There's I think there's one called Campfire. There's various other publishing, like publishing-focused word processing softwares, where you can digitally, like, almost make a Wikipedia page where you're embedding links to your own terms and references, and you can go from there. Or maybe you just need to get a piece of paper and draw because you're visual. Maybe you are an artiste and you do your thinky thoughts with the other side of the brain than the wordy do's, because you need to do the drawy C's than the wordy do's. However you get there, it's your story. If you are providing a cohesive string of events, that's really what your audience is looking for. The details of the events, I mean, if it's sports audience is going to want the cohesive set of events. If it is comedic, then, get the timing of it. Whatever it is, whether it's a kid's book or it's an adult book, there still needs to be a series of cohesive events, and you need to swirl it around in your brain meat, thinky thoughts, to get it to come out in a good order. Pardon. Now, acts had come up, at the Shakespearean 5-act. I am going to offer a 3-act structure. This is also tried and true. This is also bread and butter. The 3 structure is a popular screenwriting technique that involves, pardon, that revolves around constantly creating setups, conflicts, and resolutions. With this structure, the novel is divided into 3 acts, a beginning, a middle, and an end. There are many versions of the 3-act structure. In some, the middle is the same size as the beginning and end put together. So even with these professional sources, and by the way, let me share this link. There's nothing that's necessarily fixed or 100% guaranteed, because we're all unique people making unique stories about other unique ideas. So here's a general idea. It's a lump of clay and you mold it. Or if you prefer Close Encounters of the Third Kind, here's your mashed potatoes, here's your spoon, and pat the potatoes into the shape, okay? However, when you're first starting out, it's much easier to plan each act as the same length. In this version of the 3-act structure, each act is divided into 9 chapters for 27 chapters in total. The 9 chapters in each arc are also split into 3 blocks of 3 chapters each. This version creates a fast-paced novel that invites readers to keep turning your pages. If you're still unconvinced, Suzanne Collins' best-selling young adult Hunger Games trilogy follows this structure almost perfectly. Throughout this article, we'll take a look at what each section of the story, or each section of the 3-act structure involves, using examples from the Hunger Games to demonstrate each element. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here. Primarily, I wanted to put something visual that I didn't make on the screen for you all. But there are a lot of details here. And if you want more, go to Bloop. Go to Bloop up here. That's the Bloop. Now, how can we apply this? We make a line. There we go, we're done. That's your story. Now, you don't know it yet. Just like, Derek, Kitty Bird, if there are other artists still hanging out, whether you're an amateur or a professional. All right, well, we're going to have to pretend you can't see this. Your picture is here. It's already here. It exists. You don't see it yet. But on every piece of paper, your picture is there. Because it can't not be there. It's just up to you to define it. You got to sift through a couple other iterations, right? By making lines and things. So, congratulations, writers. Coffee Cat's here. Here's your story. And in fact, you know what? I'm a professional amateur, says Tio. And in fact, Coffee, same though. Yep. We know that our story is going to start out, even if we start out in media res. That's a fancy way of saying, like, kind of a Tarantinoing. Or, I mean, see, we're getting all sorts of terms. You start out with, like, heavy action. Oh, pew pew, screeching tires. And you go, whoa, I don't know what's going on, but there's loud noises and guns or magic spells or something. We still are going from a position of not knowing something and ultimately something greater being out there to our end. But there's going to be conflicts. I'm an aspiring professional amateur, says the Big. And Big, hello, welcome to the Hero Zone. And I wish you well in your journey. We are all on the way. Because look, if you all ever reach that destination, then you might have stopped growing as a person, and I don't want to see that. I mean, I don't know, some of us might need to stop growing, like, as a person, you know? Especially around this time of year, you get that, you know, extra help in a mashed potatoes or something. So maybe in that regard, you know, talk to your doctor if you still have room to grow or if you need to stop growing as a person there. But, you know, growing as a person. We should never stop doing that. We're always hoping to be better versions of ourselves in the future, however that is. But we know we got to get from one to the other, and there's going to be things that happen. We can take this into the hero's journey, so we can curl this up into a circle. Or we can go, oh, you know what? We have a little 3-foot tall guy who lives in a pastoral town, gets visited by a wizard to war is on the horizon. 2 people of a fellowship are dead, including the wizard, and everything feels lost. And then you go, oh wait, this whole segment is actually one of 3, so the line is actually longer. We can zoom in and out. If any of you do video editing, you might be familiar with this kind of an ease of, like, dilating time or something, right? Where you can take a moment and you can stretch it, or you can compress it, or you have this whole arc, this whole narrative, and this is actually only one piece of something. Yuminchi, hello. You are new to the D&D scene. How do you play? You use your imagination and tell a story. Now, there's some other details that might come into play, various dice, various rules or options that you choose or you choose not to play with. There's characters and monsters. Sorry, I'm having a Canada Dry off screen here. Don't get lost in those details, Yuminchi. If you're going to get lost in something, get lost in the story. At its heart, role-playing games are storytelling games, and it's an opportunity for you and your friends or family, with whomever it is that you are having fun. Well, hopefully you're having fun. You're getting together and you're telling a tale. It could be wacky and silly. It could be just a monster of the week and you hunt down stuff and it's all dice rolling and combat and very rules crunchy. Or it could be almost no dice are rolled ever and it's just you and your friends narrating the places you go and the things that you see, and you stick to a vague core concept. But at the end of every game, if you've had fun, you have won Dungeons and Dragons. Someone is making a story. You could make the story if you wish. Now, the person who tells the story primarily, or at least the one who moderates the story in D&D, is called the Dungeon Master. The players, you could argue the players are actually the story. They're the ones who run the story because they're going through the setting that you're presenting. They're talking to the other elements of the world that you produce. They're battling against your monsters. So they would be more of the active actors, the compelling force in your tale. Or you could be a player and be that force. You're still telling a story, but it's very first person from your character's point of view, with the decisions that your character makes. And there's a lot, because look, we as human beings have a tendency to overcomplicate things. There's a lot you can feel lost in, or you might go, oh, there's so many rule books, or I don't know how to do this or that. Don't worry about that stuff. keep the core concept in your heart that this is a chance for you to partake in some form or fashion, for you to partake in telling a story. Unlike a video game, where everything is programmed in and you can only do what the video game allows you to do. Even in terms of like glitching out of bounds, the game can't do anything else but make bounds to glitch out of. Or it will only have the story that the game has. At your tabletop, with your imagination and those of the others with whom you're playing, what do you want to explore? What do you want to say? What do you want to do? Do you want to try playing someone who's completely different than you in whatever way possible? You want to step into another person's shoes. You can do that. Or if you just simply want to take a version of yourself and kind of isekai yourself into a fantasy world, you can do that as well. Though, please, I don't suggest any of you go out and get hit by a work truck, okay? Please. Have a good night, Orchid. The setting of D&D, they don't have to be. Traditionally, they are. The default setting is like a generic Western European, but I have played many games in many locales with different levels of tech, with different presentations of the animals or the plants. The magic can be presented differently from one game to the next. If you don't want to run in a medieval setting, whether that is Western or Eastern, you don't have to. Now, there are other settings that are more... if you want something more futuristic, more sci-fi, there's other settings that will make that a specialty, though nothing is necessarily stopping you from using a little imagination and simply reflavoring an iron two-handed sword into a two-handed sword made of light that deals lightning damage instead of slashing damage. So you can take the same concept, which is generally presented as medieval in some way, and tweak a couple details along the way. And you can customize the setting to be whatever you want to tell. Yep. Now, there is Cyberpunk Red, which is a system that from the get-go, like if you like the Cyberpunk video game, the video game is based off of the role-playing game. And so everything in Cyberpunk Red from the beginning is Cyberpunk. It doesn't mean you can't play Cyberpunk in Dungeons and Dragons. You can, you reflavor some things, or maybe there's a third-party book that someone made that will translate ideas for you already. You can play Cyberpunk in other role-playing games too, with a similar concept. It's really up to what you and everyone at your table, what you decide on what you want to do. You don't have to present anything in a particular fashion in a storytelling game. You can reflavor things as much as you want, or you can you can even take a pre-written story, a module, or many people call them mods. Curse of Strahd, Tomb of Annihilation. You can make Tomb of Annihilation into a cyberpunk game if you reflavor things. And if that's what you and everyone at your table wants to do, congratulations. It is your version of Tomb of Annihilation. Yes, it is printed in a particular fashion. It is printed in a way that gives you a story that you can follow, right? A storyline that generally has a beginning, there's content in the middle to get through, and you get to the end. But how you get there, you may not follow the line that was printed in the book, but you kind of wibble and wobble, and whoop, you do a little loop over here, and you go, and then bloop, you still get to the end. And if you had fun along the way, you've won. No one's gonna Like, who's going to tell you to stop if everyone there is doing exactly what they want to do? So yeah, if there's a theme, if you want cowboys, Old West, yeehaw, giddy up. There's roleplay books that focus just on that as its core theme. You can also do Old West and D&D if you want. So it's really up to what your desire is. What kind of a story do you want to tell? Nope. We are a workshop stream. I'm in the game store. I am broadcasting after hours from the friendly local game store here. There are all manner of things here, and we are a workshop channel. Because even what you're talking about goes right into what we're workshopping anyway. This is a place to welcome others who are new to the hobby and who have questions, even like beginner questions, where you can ask them and they will be answered. And not even just by me. There's probably there's other people who would be glad to give you their opinion or their take or their suggestion as well. I don't have a monopoly on the idea. I don't have a monopoly on how you best play D&D. I can offer advice and options, but ultimately it's an option that you can adopt or not. But I'm very happy that you found this place. You decided to click on the channel to take you in, and you gave us a chance to welcome you, to listen to what's on your mind, and to hopefully give you a very good start into what could be a years and years and years long hobby. Where you'll be sitting down, maybe you'll still be a part of this community 2, 4, 10 years from now. I'll broadcast as long as I can, as long as you'll have me, right? And if you're here, we celebrate 5 years of you role-playing and you think back to this day, what is this? This is November 18th at 2022 at almost 4 a.m. And you say right here, this was the point that I began role-playing 5 years ago, and then you can go over the stories that you've told, and the amazing laughs that you've had, the tense moments, maybe the tears sometimes. I've cried at D&D sessions. I'm looking all of you, not just you. I'm looking all of you. I have cried at D&D sessions because the story has been that good. And if you can look back 1 year, 1 month, 10 years, well, you made a good choice. And there's probably some stumbles and falls along the way, or some things that you look back and maybe you regret, or you wish that you would have done something differently. Well, I mean, that's life. But you can still look back and see it all and realize that you started something really neat. It's a part of your own journey. But yep. Plutonian. Let my birthday gift keep on giving. Plutonian, what would you like to do with that? I'm sorry, I was on a soapbox, everyone. Yeah, coffee, and if it makes you feel better, even as the one who had machinations that quite literally spanned for years, just with our game that we wrapped up playing, I get tears, and I'm supposed to be the mastermind know-it-all who knew everything in advance. And so all of you have permission to actually feel feelings at your games, for your characters or your players or whatever else that happened along the way. Flip a coin? I'll tell you what, Plutonian, I will roll a d20 and you tell me whatever the result means to you. So there we go, Plutonian. I rolled a 13. What does that mean? You are the storyteller here. Phoenix Ina, thank you very much. And welcome back to you. Camera? Well, thank you very much then. That means a lot to me. I have plans to do some upgrades for the broadcasting here from the store, which is going to be including a variety of some other content, because I'm going to get something hooked up at our war game table. And I can do some interesting demonstrations and other things from it. And this absolutely will go in towards that. So thank you very much. And I hope you all can wish Plutonian a very nice happy birthday and a thank you. And you thank you. Thank you. I'm going to tell you, this is a special place. I've worked hard to make sure it means a lot to a lot of different people, you included. And you keep asking questions. If you got them, myself and other people will answer them. If you use Discord, type !Discord to generate an invitation link. And when I'm not broadcasting, we can talk there. A lot of other people. We have a mentor network. So if you have roleplay questions, you can ask, and other people who have volunteered to be mentors can answer questions there too. And let's continue to, well, hopefully enjoy the culture, the things that I really hope are fostered in an environment like this. And I want to present as best as I can through this camera and microphone to you all, so that each of you, as best as possible, feel like you are in a friendly local game store. You know you're a part of a bigger community of people who do similar things to you, different things than you, who enjoy same things and different things, and who can challenge you and give you and be challenged in return, who can give you advice, share some fun jokes or memes or the like. And otherwise, like, just be human beings doing human being stuff. Well, Plutonian, thank you. And that does go towards a very good upgrade for the cameras that we have, in order to better try and present extra things. There are definitely plans for our anniversary coming up in January. Things are in the works. All will be revealed. All right. Now, ask questions if you all have them. And of course, give cheer and celebration to Plutonian and others. And also a nice warm welcome to you, Minchi, for the subscription, for finding us. And look, I realize I'm just some weird-looking random dude on Twitch in the D&D section. And I don't have miniatures up. I mean, I guess there's a number Hulk up here, but You know, like I don't have maps. I don't have, you know, like a game going on right now. I'm definitely not Critical Role. But we do have something really cool here because we do things differently. Because we are here to teach. We are here to involve you all, to answer your questions, to check each other and give peer review if necessary, and really just have a good time while we try and improve our understanding of, I don't know, whatever's in front of us, whether that is understanding our or improving our understanding of an Umber Hulk or of story structure. And Retrovian Player, thank you for the follow and welcome to you. Welcome to the Hero Zone. So in general, again, this is 101. I'm not getting detailed. We know that there needs to be a rise as things are building to some sort of a climax, and that there's something that happens afterwards. We may not know what it is, but at least this is giving us, who are visual thinkers, an idea of the rising action that is going to take place. And we can come up with midpoints. We can use the midpoint method here if we want. We can use this. Yep, we are going over storytelling and some narrative structure. In this workshop example for the month, it would be writing a fantasy novel. But there's a lot of what we're doing here for novel writing that can translate into planning a campaign. And have you been playing D&D or other role-playing games for a while? It does say retro in your name, so maybe you've been around for a while or you have a lot of experience. But you're welcome to share your involvement with... are you primarily a player? Are you a forever DM? You know, or even are you new? Maybe you play retro video games, but you're brand new to tabletop games, and you have a lot of questions. Phoenixina says, how many times would you use the who, what, where, why along that timeline? Maybe not along the timeline, because those are framing questions that would involve... it would almost be baked into the elements that we're plotting along the way. You did used to play a bit. You thinking about getting back into it? And I'm not baiting for a yes or something. If not, then I mean, look, you gotta live your life, right? You gotta do things that make you happy. So here, let's use an example here. There's an adventuring party. Doesn't matter. Could have comprise it however you want. Okay? There's an adventuring party wandering along through the countryside. Everything is nice and calm. Oh, I'd love to, but I can't find a good fit because I have a disabled kid, so it's complicated. Oh, okay, so like you would have to have the kid with you while you play. Well, would an online venue? Because I don't know, there might be either, well, maybe in person or online groups that would understand. Like there are parent groups out there where people who play might have little kids or special needs kids, and everyone who's at the table understands that at any point in time, things happen. So it might be harder to find, but I have to imagine that they're out there. Yeah, also, Phoenixina, one-shots might be really good as well. I hear about them, but you know how it is nothing yet? Or I'm sorry, I might have mistranslated what you wrote, Retro. So we have an adventuring party. It's a beautiful day, middle of summer, right? There's no threat except maybe a cloud in the sky that might block some sunshine coming down, okay? They're traveling and talking, and as the day's progressing, they're excited to reach their destination, and so they're telling tales or playing tag or whatever the adventuring party does. However, they notice an old village on the side of the road. Now, there's nothing overtly threatening about this. I mean, it could raise tension, but that also could just be, I can get a drink, or, my feet hurt. Can we actually just camp here for the night and keep going in the morning when it's not so hot? There's excitement. There could be threat. We don't really have a scale of threat. We just know that things are increasing. Because if I describe to you a nice warm summer day, in the moment, you might go, that's nice. And then it might pass because you've entertained the idea and there's no further engagement needed. You had a nice idea, you got to sigh wistfully for a moment, and there we go. But there's the village. Looks kind of run down and abandoned. And through this, they are exploring. Hi, Bear Arms. Good to see you. Welcome. They explore it. So, a little hint of danger, even if it's just, I don't know, an old roofing beam collapses and scares someone, let alone bonks them on the head. Nothing jumps out and attacks. It could, if you want in your story. Depends. Do you need action in that moment? Or for it to serve another purpose that's greater than just action? Aha. The party finds an old cave behind the village. It was kind of hidden, and you really had to look to find it. Well, logically, they were looking already. But because it was hidden, there's a lot of potential mystery ahead. Because it looks like maybe not a lot of activity's gone on, because who knew about this? But this also deepens the mystery of the abandoned village. And then, finally, if nothing jumped out before, you get the classic swarm of bats come down. Goonies style or whatever. Lethal? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe you could get rabies. If we're playing D&D, I mean, there's hit points, we can swing a sword, etc. Yeah, like, it could be a combat. Some hit points can be dropped off of a character, of course, of the monsters, etc. Is it exceptionally threatening? No, but the tension is raised. Not only is there a mysterious cave, but also there are dangerous creatures. Threatening creatures. So, they continue, and then, dun dun dun, probably right about here, they discover a Skelemans. Oh! Now, we know that there are people missing from the village, but the bats probably didn't kill a person. Probably. And there's more cave ahead. Our tensions continue to raise. We might feel our breathing increase a little bit. We are looking for details. Our fight or flight is now starting to kick in. as the reader who is getting the story through the eyes and other senses of the character. So now what happens? You go further down. And you discover this is not a normal cave with bats and bugs and this skeleton. You discover that there are sentient fungi. Now we are in another world. What is this? They can scream, they like move like people? Wait a minute. Are these the people? There's revelation. You can even increase the tension because maybe there's a mysterious force at work beyond just mystery, or the building thrill that's happening. There could be something else. Maybe their magic doesn't start working correctly. They go to throw a little firebolt at the mushroom, and it flickers out. So now there's more tension. There's also more revelation. The revelation is the unraveling, like a ball of string. It is unraveling the mystery. We as a DM already know what's happened, but we're getting to watch the process as the author. Well, we watch the process as a DM. As the author, we're presenting the process of what happened to these people in the village. So now there are actually lethal enemies, and what you could count on before to bring down enemies isn't as reliable. Finally, there's some kind of severe loss of control. The heroes that were just walking along on a summer's day and got curious, wanted to put their feet up, maybe see if someone had a, bread, chunk of, cheese, hunk of, wine, glass of, anything from the list in the player's handbook. And now they're faced with whatever the boss is. Boss is also cause. What is the cause of this? Is it the mega mushroom? Is it a deranged hermit, maybe covered in squirrels or not? Magic the Gathering reference for any of you out there. It could be a mad druid if you're playing D&D. But then this is it. This isn't just a tough fight. Like, we're talking this is all out. The conflict, it could even be a moral conflict. What if this person is possessed? What if this person is simply an agent, knowing or unknowing? But there's clues that can be left through dialogue in combat. If they just outright slay the boss, maybe there's a note or something found. But the revelation continues as the threat has escalated and reached its peak. Then we start coming down from things, because now, all right, the cave is secure. We've reached the end. We're fairly familiar with what's behind us. There could always be more. But the trip back through the cave, talking about the things, maybe becoming more at ease that there's no traps or other things that are going to spring out. And we come back to rest. Because while it was exciting and the characters are hurt or they've expended resources, that was resolution. And they're back out in the sun Yeah, it's a creepy abandoned village, but now they're fairly certain that it's safer. And we, as the author or the DM, don't need to go on continuing to menacingly give little creaks of the ceiling beams or squeaks of a rat that runs out. Because they know that the ceiling beams creak. And they know that there's some rats. And they don't care at this point because what did they just overcome? Now that they're at rest, they can finally examine the evidence of something. It is the wizard's spell book. It is something that was on the transformed person's remains. It was, I don't know, some sort of a MacGuffin. If you don't know what a MacGuffin is, I'll tell you when you're older. No, it's a plot device. It's an item that, like, the One Ring, right? That's a MacGuffin. Anyway. Or they find something, but they can study it and they can know it. And now that they can add this other significant knowledge to their world, they continue on. They still have a city to get to. The whole point was very much to go from whatever, little farming village to capital city. Let's say that's what it was. That's the plot. That's the whole point of our little story. A short story. An adventuring party goes from a farming village to the capital city on a summer's day. And we just made an entire story out of it. Because now that we've hit this point, things start escalating again because they have to hit the road. Now they have something precious. There's a little bit more to worry about. What if there's a highway robber? I mean, they could have been wary about that before, but now there's something like, we don't want this falling into the wrong hands. We got to get to the capital city. Or some kind of a timer has been set because whoever so touches the wizard's book has 3 days to live or something like that. And then the tension starts rising again on their way to the capital city. And you can see things had happened before. Things happened in their life that they were coming down from in the farming village. Do we know what it is? No. Is it necessarily important? Not 100%. But for the sake of continuity, we need to realize that there was something before and there will be something after, giving it a margin on both sides, kind of a buffer, that there is more to the world, that there is more always to consider. Because this here, this is what gets your page to turn. Okay? Because there's more. We know that there was, and we missed out on whatever's on that front cover. Even if there's a little bit of, exposition at the beginning. Remember the sights and the words we talked about? But we know that there's already something because we need to have this sense of calm. We may not know what the normal is, but we know that there is a normalcy in this moment. And so we're cool. Because even if it's in media res, we're still going to come down to normal and have it explained and stop and explore and get to know things. And then when we have a solid knowledge base, we escalate, we add an idea that changes everything, kind of. And then now we calm back down with that extra thing. And then everything heats up because of that extra thing, and we add a new thing, and then a new normal, a new normal, a new normal, and it keeps stacking up. If your brain works like this, you are a crow or a raven doing there's an experiment to measure their intelligence, where there was a beaker with water and rocks around the beaker. The raven, in order to drink the water, learned that if it dropped the rocks inside, the water level raised. The things that are learned along the way are taking the same amount of water, the same story, the same world, etc., but it's raising it, it's escalating it, because we're adding one thing at a time. So if that visualization, instead of this chart or written out websites and other references, work for you, then you as the author, you as the dungeon master, are a crow dropping rocks into a beaker of water to raise the stakes, to raise the story. Everything is already there. All the water in the beaker is already there. But you're getting to it. And you're bringing it closer to your audience. Okay? But yeah, and I'm glad that worked for you, Plutonian. We knew stuff came before and we really can't help that. Maybe that, we can go back and explore it if there's another book or something. But we know that we can move forward. So when you're writing, and look, I don't have a bunch of fancy terms on this graph. I don't have it charted out. I don't have another axis against which we can measure threat or whatever. I haven't really labeled this in a particular fashion, but we can see how we can present elements of our stories. And this is either a side quest, or this could be your entire story. There's no reason why it can't. Right? We can always expand it. We can grab this and whoop, turn this into a larger event too. We still had various acts. We could break this down into the 3-act structure. Here, let me, I'll bring that up one more time real quick. We could turn this into 3 acts for sure. Now, is it 3 acts of a major summer blockbuster? No, it doesn't have to be, because these are still events that are relevant to the continuity of what's happening. And if you as the author have the continuity, have the confidence to carry the story forward, for the most part, it'll be okay. And if it's not, I mean, in a live game, if you're role-playing, it is what it is. But if you have the time to sit down as an author and plot things out, you can go back and revise it. Let's turn this off again. Because you have, okay, so here's the party, and this is what I want them to do, because as the author, everyone is your puppet. As a DM, you're just trying to herd cats. But here, you can plot things out, and then you could say, you know what? I actually think this is better here. And your first draft could have been solid, but it can always be better, because we can always be better. That's art imitating life. So it's frustrating, I get it, but don't let it frustrate you, because it is a part of the natural creative process. And then you can say, okay, yeah, and this character is going to come in at this point, and then we're going to have, this is when the mummy pops out. Like, if you have minis and stuff too, however you learn, however you process, right? Do it. And have your vision pop out of your brain in some way. I hope this helped. I hope this can alleviate a lot of stress for you in plotting and planning. If nothing else, get something on paper. Coffee Cat, Derek, Kagome's Fury. I don't know if Kagome's still hanging out. Any other artists out there? Any other artists? Bear, that is an amazing emote, my friend. I love them. We already know that the blank piece of paper has your drawing already there. And it's been there the whole time. It's been there since the beginning of time, when the molecules that made it up existed. Your drawing has been there. But Derek does this a lot too. Draw something, get something out. Draw a shape and make something with the shape. Spitball ideas, develop them, cultivate them. Because this is a simple journey through the countryside. This is also your next sci-fi epic. Right here. This is your sci-fi epic. You're going to publish this and make $10 million off of it. You're welcome. I won't ask for royalties. Just think of me, be kind. But if you're just staring at a piece of paper, you know it's here, so nothing is happening. It's stagnant. This I can at least start putting sticky things onto. I can put miniatures onto it. I can make tags and go, yep, right here, right here. No, I don't like that. We're going to cross this out, and I'm going to use, you know what? I've only been using a black Sharpie. You know what I need to do? For no other reason? La 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 la, bloop. Okay, I don't know why, but the pen told me there must be blood. That's how I'm interpreting this. And at this point, draw your line in the sand. Yeah, there's a million miles of desert around you everywhere else, but here, this is your line. You made it. Your will has been enacted upon reality and has caused reality to say, this is the point in the desert that is mine. And I'm going to do something with it. And ultimately, does this have to be the moment of bloodshed? It could come before. But here, you just let something happen. You prompted yourself. You challenged yourself. Roll some dice. I don't know what they mean. But it means something. Right? Read the entrails. Put marks, throw dice. All right, so something 3 happens here. Something, something 18 happens here. Is it a clue? Is it a story? Is it the number of monsters? Is it whatever? I don't know what you're making. It's how many shots are left in the repeating crossbow as the main character is just refilled, but that's the last bag of bolts that went into it. The tension is still high. I just turned a random number 18 into a high-tension situation, in a fantasy setting anyway. Whereas the number 18 here, this is the same party with the same person with the repeating crossbow, having seen her 18th posy along the roadside, commenting, "Oh, I love these flowers." Well, we've learned something about the character here. She loves flowers, and there are posies of a particular color in this world. The same number here is now 1, 2, 3. I only have 18 more. How many are left? You can hear the panting. You can feel it. You can almost, I don't need to describe it, but you can almost feel the sweat pouring off of her brow. The same 18 here. Well, the same number 18 here, and the same 18 here. And yet we're still telling a story. And I just pulled random stuff right out of my mind. I don't know what you were thinking. But if you're thinking about it, thank you. I feel kind of cute. Right? Here's your story. So, fiddle with it. Do something. This is your arc. All right, I know it's kind of pointy. And this is a legally distinct, Verizon checkmark, right? Don't come at me, Verizon. But your story's here. It's here. Just do something with it, right? You don't need to be a scholar. You don't need to have done this for years and years and years. Does it help? Yeah. Derek will tell you drawing 10,000 circles will really help you be a better artist. But sometimes, just put a shape down and you interpret it. That's all I got to say about that.